High above a busy city stood a tall luxury building. At the top of that building was a wide balcony garden filled with green plants, colorful flowers, and soft sunlight. In the center of the balcony hung a magnificent bird cage. The cage was made of pure gold. Its bars shined brightly in the sunlight, and tiny jewels decorated its edges. Anyone who visited the house stopped to admire it. Inside the cage lived a small bird with beautiful golden feathers. Every day, the rich owner of the house brought the bird the finest food: sweet fruits, fresh seeds, clean water in a small crystal bowl. The bird was protected from rain, wind, and danger. From the outside, it looked like the perfect life. Visitors would often stand on the balcony and say, "What a lucky bird. It has everything." The bird listened quietly. Every morning, when the sun rose above the city skyline, the bird would look through the golden bars. Far beyond the balcony were open skies. Wild birds flew freely between buildings and above the clouds. They soared through the wind without fear. The bird inside the cage would open its wings slightly, but the wings always touched the golden bars. The cage was beautiful, but it was still a cage. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. The bird continued to watch the sky. One evening, as the sun began to set behind the tall buildings, an old wild bird landed on the balcony railing. Its feathers were rough from many long journeys. Its wings showed signs of storms and long flights, but its eyes were bright with life. The old bird looked toward the golden cage and asked gently, "Why do you live inside there?" The caged bird replied, "This place keeps me safe. I always have food, water, and shelter." The old bird nodded slowly. "That may be true," it said, "but do you have the sky?" The question stayed in the bird's mind long after the old bird flew away. That night, the city lights glowed below the balcony. Cars moved like tiny stars on the roads. But the bird inside the cage could not sleep. It kept thinking about the question, "Do I have the sky?" The next day, the old bird returned. It sat on the balcony railing again. This time it told stories. Stories of flying above rivers. Stories of resting on mountain cliffs. Stories of watching the sunrise above the clouds. The caged bird listened carefully. The stories sounded exciting, but they also sounded frightening. "What if I fall?" the caged bird asked. "Then you learn to fly stronger," the old bird replied. "What if I cannot find food?" Then you learn to search. "What if storms come?" Then you learn courage. The caged bird looked around the balcony. Inside the cage, everything was certain, safe, predictable. But something deep inside its heart began to whisper, "Safety is not the same as living." One afternoon, something unexpected happened. The rich owner came to clean the cage. For a brief moment, the small cage door was left slightly open. The bird noticed it immediately. The door had never been opened before. The wind from the open sky gently moved the cage. Freedom was only a few wing beats away, but the bird hesitated. Outside the cage was the unknown world. Inside the cage was comfort. The bird stayed still. Time passed slowly. The sun began to set behind the city buildings. Just as the door was about to close again, the old wild bird returned to the balcony railing. It saw the open cage. Then it looked at the bird inside. Softly it said, "Opportunities don't stay open forever." The words echoed in the bird's heart. Something changed in that moment. Slowly, the bird walked toward the open door. Each step felt uncertain. Each step felt heavy with fear. But something inside whispered, "Try." The bird reached the edge of the cage. For the first time in its life, there were no bars in front of it. Only open sky above the city. The bird spread its wings. They trembled slightly. Then, gathering all its courage, the bird jumped. For a brief moment, it dropped through the air. Fear rushed through its body. But then the wind caught its wings. The bird lifted. Higher, higher above the balcony. The golden cage became smaller behind it. The city stretched wide below. The sky opened endlessly above. For the first time, the bird felt the true power of its wings. The old wild bird flew beside it. "You see," it said gently, "you were always meant for the sky." The bird looked back once at the balcony. The golden cage was still shining in the sunlight, still beautiful, still comfortable. But now the bird understood something important. A cage does not become freedom just because it is made of gold. The bird turned toward the open sky and flew farther away, joining the wild birds dancing in the wind above the city. Life would not always be easy. Storms would come, challenges would appear, but the bird would never return to the cage. Because once you taste freedom, even the most beautiful cage feels too small, and the sky will always feel like home. A golden cage is still a cage. True happiness comes from freedom, not comfort.